Hi, welcome to today's special Dr. Darrow Podcast, where we welcome a true legend in all things hearing healthcare, Dr. Richard Gans. Dr. Richard, thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure, Keith.
It's just so great to have you on here. I mean, you really are one of the, I believe, you've helped set the foundation for hearing healthcare going back as far as 30 or 40 years. And you're still at it. You really are helping to reshape and really reset the minds of people in hearing healthcare to really focus on the service we provide, not just the widget. We are so much more than that. So it's been quite a journey. And I would love to, if you don't mind, if you could just riff, I want to hear some of your story, your journey from AUD or audiologist to AIB.
Yeah, well, basically, I started out like a lot of audiologists of my generation, and that was actually in speech pathology, right? So I started graduate school at University of Miami in speech and language pathology. But I was interested in the neurological aspects. So I wasn't so much, even though it turned out I do a lot of pediatrics, I wasn't so much about helping little kids say rabbit instead of wabbit. I was interested in aphasia, laryngectomies, and more of the medical side of things. As my father had bilateral otosclerosis, my mother had true intractable Meniere's disease when I was a kid, I actually realized that, you know what, I think this audiology thing is going to be where I should go. So Miami in those days didn't have an audiology program. So I came up to University of South Florida, got my master's degree in audiology. That's what was in place in those days. And I took a job at Northern Michigan University as the only audiologist in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So a population of 300,000. So I saw convicts from the penitentiary that would come in belly chains to newborns and everything in between. I realized that, and remember, this is the mid-late 1970s. Electrophysiology didn't exist. It was just emerging. And hearing aids, I mean, you fit a hearing aid with a jeweler's screwdriver.
Right.
On how, is this good? Is that good? Is this good? Is that good? And I'm there, okay, right? And it was really custom in the ear hearing aids hadn't really evolved. So I started to think to myself, when I'm teaching oral rehab and speech reading and, traditional rehab-y audiology stuff. And you know what? It's kind of stupid. This is it. So, this whole thing is emerging. ABR, electrocochleography. I said, yeah, this is something. So at that time, The Ohio State had the most advanced neurophysiology, electrophysiology. You had the great David Lim, my mentor, the great John Ferraro, electrocochleography, William Melnick. But we still had a lot of great rehab people. Ed Hardick, Herb Boyer had come back after retiring as the dean of the graduate school at Michigan State. So I went there, did animal research, and because I had my C's at that time, unlike other PhD students, they actually made me the director of the hearing aid clinic. So I directed the hearing aid clinic, supervised the master's level students, did animal research. Then I graduated and returned to Florida, where I teamed up with one of my dear friends, PhD out of Purdue, Alan Dance. And between 1983 and 1989, we had 13 clinics. It was the largest private practice at its time. Alan handled all the dispensing, and we had ABR, ECOG, ENG in those days in all 13 clinics. Unheard of.
Unheard of.
Then in 89, we sold Here USA, what was known as Herex, was emerging. And it was before we realized they were really quite a bunch of scallywags. And so, young and foolish, just a couple of dopey PhDs, we sold our birthright for a bowl of porridge, right? Biblical.
Sure.
And so I stayed with them 2 years and realized that no good. I'm not a corporate guy. They're worried about Wall Street. They can't make any money. I said, I got to get out of here. So I came back to the West Coast of Florida. And in 1992, we opened the American Institute of Balance. And now we're celebrating our 30th anniversary. And so AIB is a global company. In the United States, we license, operate, or manage 100 clinics in 32 states. Here in Tampa, we have clinics. We see about, just in Tampa, about 800 to 900 patients a month. We have partners all over the world, AIB India, do a lot of work in the Middle East, United Arab Emirates, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia. We're doing a proposal for a hospital in Kajang, Malaysia. We are the largest educator of PTs and OTs in the world. We right now have 6,000 in the United States, AIB trained and certified therapists. And we expect to grow probably this year or over the next 18 months. We'll probably open up another 100 to 150 clinics throughout the United States.
So let's just, I mean, you and I have spoke offline, so I have a decent understanding of the business model, but you just sort of rushed through in about 2 minutes. You know, I opened AIB 30 years ago, and now we have, you know, all these different offices and licenses and clinics. And I mean, what are the levels of participation? I mean, maybe we should just start there.
So, you know, for years, we have been recognized as thought leaders in the vestibular balance world. So for 30 years, and while we're building our clinical business, we have been publishing lots of research, lots of texts. In fact, we're updating a textbook chapter now. But we were not teaching people how to make a business out of it. We were teaching them the clinical science. Here's how you do it. Here's how you do this test. Here's how you do therapy. And about 3 years ago, right before COVID, actually, a lot of people came to us and said, you know, why aren't your brand is world famous. We want to be affiliated with you.
Sure.
How can we do this? How do we move from being your student to basically being an entrepreneur in balance? Well, we started the process. First of all, franchising in medicine historically has not worked. So we created a licensing agreement with exclusive territories. So we license as an exclusive AIB facility. We basically became the Chick-fil-A of dizziness. So we have strategic partnerships with all the equipment suppliers with discounts and value added, right? The benefit, though, is that we can do everything. We don't want people to work in their business. To quote the great Michael Gerber, E-Myth, we want people to work on their business. Okay. So we don't want you to work the fryer at Chick-fil-A. We want you to be the owner of Chick-fil-A. So what we do is we have a 4th-year placement program called Match Me. We have a 4th-year boot camp. We have ongoing education portals. So what we do is we take the vestibular neurodiagnostic suite. It only requires 100 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want you to open up a new building or a clinic. We want you to find a 9x10 room that we can set this up in inside your own four walls. We don't want you to give up dispensing. We don't want you to give up anything. We want to help you add a $500,000 business silo within your existing four walls. The testing then can be performed by fourth-year students, depending on what states you're in, audiology assistants, technicians. There's many different ways to do this. You don't even have to learn the cognitive aspects of it. We do the overreads for you because it's no longer just VNG. So it's rotary chair, VNG with or without calorics, ocular vent, cervical vent, brainstem auditory evoked potential, electrocochleography, Gans sensory organization, postural stability testing.
And all this equipment fits in a 10x10 room.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, with room to spare for a small desk.
With room for patients, I hope.
Yeah, for a small desk and a couple of side chairs. The benefit is, excluding your audiology codes, these codes today will generate $617. That's the national average in 75 minutes. So the cost, we have 100% financing.
So gone are the days. I mean, my fourth year at the Brigham and Women's in Boston was really hyper focused on vestibular. And even though I wasn't involved in the billing because I was, quote unquote, just a student, but I was really focused on that. And I ran these tests 2 to 3 times a week. But I remember overhearing the conversations about, we just spent 3 to 4 hours and we'll get reimbursed, $250. And that was only, 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's because they didn't understand what they were doing, honestly.
Sure.
See, there's a business of balance. And not only that, but so if you were to, let me see, can you allow me to do a screen share?
I could. There you go. Should work now.
Yeah, let me make sure I got the right. Nope, that's not quite the right screen. Let me show
because I think that this is really important. So for those of you who are listening and watching, what Dr. Gans is saying is the common, at least what I'm sure he's dealt with this a lot, a common misconception when it comes to balance is it's a lot of work for a little bit of money. And you just threw out there, if you've got a 10x10 space and you're looking to bring in another $500,000 in revenue, it's pretty easy. Maybe I should put easy in quotes, but it's pretty straightforward if you follow the AIB method.
Yeah. And if you look at it, we've got, I'm sorry, I've got this on my screen somewhere. We've got 70 private practice audiologists around the country operating 100 locations, and they're all doing extremely well. And these are well-known audiologists that are well-known to everybody. People like,
and are they typically audiologists who, say, 3 years ago were not including balance?
Absolutely. These are all newbies.
Okay.
They're all newbies. And
what do you think that motivation has been in the last 3 years to say, I want to collaborate. I want to be part of this. I want to bring this into the fold.
Well, I think a lot of it is, and I'm sorry, I'll find this in a minute. Let me keep talking. So I'm going to show you the codes. First of all, you think about, I'll give you an example. So audiologist in small town America says it's a town of like 25,000. He says, Richard, I'm not in a big city. How am I gonna do this? I said, how you doing with hearing aids in your little town? Oh, I do great. I'm in practice 12 years. I'm making a hell of a nice living. I said, so you must be the only one selling hearing aids in your town, right? He says, oh, no. I said, so you've got Beltone? Oh, yeah. Miracle Ear? Yeah. Audibel? Yeah. What about Costco and Sam's? Yeah, they all sell hearing aids. What about any ENTs dispensing? Oh, yeah, 3 or 4 of them. Any other audiologists dispensing? Yeah, about 2 others. So let me understand this. You have at least 8 competitors selling a product that nobody wants, that's not covered by insurance, and you're doing phenomenal. Oh, yeah. Okay, so why do you think that you, as the only person in your town, wouldn't do amazing handling dizziness, vertigo, and falls? And he is. He's doing phenomenal. Because when you look at it, if you amortize the equipment and the licensing over 60 months, and by the way, if you dispense Oticon, Starkey, Phonak, Widex, almost Resound, they will provide for you 100% financing for the whole thing. 0 interest.
Wow.
But if you don't want to do that, we have...
Is that for the equipment or for the license?
Everything. 100%.
Gotcha.
100%. But, you're going to agree to,
oh, yeah. There's always some terms, but that's okay.
But if you don't want to do that and you just want to go through one of our approved medical equipment lenders, they're very aggressive. Your monthly payment is going to be about $2,800 a month, amortized over 60 months, right? And then you own everything. The equipment will last for 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
If you want it to. But what that means is at $600, and that's excluding your audio, temp, reflex, OAEs. This is just $600 just for rotary chair, VNG, OVEMP, CVEMP, ABR, ECOG, right? What do you need? You only need about, 5 patients a month to pay for everything. Now, you should do 5 patients in a day. 2 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon. There's 20 business days in the month. You're going to be whole on the equipment and everything one day. What that means is the rest of the 19 days is your gross profit.
Right.
Giddy up.
And you would help. What I heard you say earlier was that person, you could help with potentially bringing in another provider to do that 1 day a week or 5 days a week, or tell me about that match program.
Ultimately, what we know is this. Every year, let's be honest, today's 4th year student and the kids that are going into AUD programs really don't want to be hearing aid salespeople. And most of them,
I would hope none of us want to be.
And most of them aren't that great at it. When you try to take a nurturing scientific person that's going into a doctoring profession, many of them say, you know what? I would have just gotten a hearing aid dealer's license. Why would I go into debt for $120,000 to do the same thing that the guy at Beltone or Audibel does? It doesn't make sense.
I mean, sure. I take some issue with a lot of the stuff you said, because that, I think therein lies the problem when it comes to the hearing side, which is, yes, I agree. The students are altruistic. They want to be this autonomous doctor, which I agree. I think it's the education system. I think it's the business influence that then tries to poison them and mold them into a salesperson, which They're not. They didn't go to school for it. It's not in their heart, so they suck at it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the plain truth. Most audiologists suck at selling.
Because that's it. Let's be honest. If you want to make a living as a salesperson, go sell office buildings. Go
sell something else.
MRI. Why are you sitting in a room arguing with some old man that he needs hearing aids? He doesn't want them.
But if you want to change somebody's life and change the direction of their life and provide what I think is one of the most valued medical services out there, that yes, it does. It has a price tag. Oh, well, that's life. Until that changes, it is what it is. But if you could, that's what we do, right? That's some of the things that I want to keep this about you, but at Odd Experts, what we're doing is we're working with these.
We're in agreement here.
Yeah, and I love what you've done, which is taken and shifted the mindset about how we can help people change their lives. We can provide a tremendous value from the dizzy side, from the vestibular side, because look, falling, number one cause of injury-related deaths. You fall once, you're probably going to fall again. Costs $30,000 a fall. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but you lose your independence, you lose your home. Like, there is tremendous, tremendous value when it comes to providing services for the dizzy patient. And the value for the services on the hearing side is just as huge.
Yeah, absolutely. But at the end of the day, you've got to look, it's math. It's math. Okay. What we know is this: dizziness is the number one complaint of people over age 60, 65. Now, absolutely. It could be diabetes. It could be polypharmacy. It could be hypertensive. But the point is, you have to evaluate them. Number one, no person that's ever awoken with vertigo has ever said, it's not me, people keep spinning around.
I love that. Yes.
And it's the number 3 complaint across all age groups. So we see children. We evaluate children as young as 3 months of age with cervical VEM, who have delayed motor milestones, who have congenital sensorineural hearing loss. So we talk about this across the lifespan. It's not just old people. And in fact, at AIB, only 40% of our patients are Medicare age.
Wow.
60% of our, because the number one non-otologic cause of dizziness and vertigo is vestibular migraine. Yeah. And that is going to affect mostly females during their childbearing years. So, 17 to say mid-50s.
Sure.
So the population is there, and you have no natural competitors. Costco is not sending mailers to hundreds of thousands of people that say, come in, get a salami, and let us treat your BPPV.
So what would you say? I don't believe I've shared this story with you. I opened my private practice. It's been about a decade now. And when I first started, the name of my practice was the Hearing and Balance Centers of New England. A few years later, I changed it to the Hearing and Brain Centers when I decided that I was going to go more the route of cognitive screenings and hearing healthcare. And I sort of left the balance aside. And part of that reason was also because I admit it, right? I know a lot of things, but I didn't necessarily understand the business side. And so I dropped it. And of course, you have me rethinking it, but I think there's a lot of people like me. And I know a lot of people that we coach in our program who they have a name and balance, but they don't really do anything with it. So how do you sort of change the hearts and minds of the audiologist who's maybe been scorned by it, or the business owner who's like, I had balance equipment, but I never got a patient referred to me. It was such a pain in the butt.
And part of that's a great question. Well, first of all, doing VNG is a dinosaur. Yeah. If you're just doing VNG, you're hanging your hat on a 70-year-old test. You might as well tell people you've got a DOS computer, so they should come and see. VNG is a dinosaur. The caloric is even more of a dinosaur when you compare it to all the other tests that are available. Not only that, a step velocity test in a rotary chair takes under 4 minutes and pays $118, and nobody vomits. And everybody thinks it's great. The calorics take 18 minutes. Some people do get sick, and you generate $40.
Yeah.
The VNG without the calorics, right? Just ocular motors, positionals, takes maybe 15 or 20 minutes, pays $100. Combined ocular and cervical vent takes 10 minutes, pays $124. So you can't be a paper tiger. You've got to be the real deal.
Yeah, you can't half-ass balance testing.
And you can't fake it with physicians or patients.
Yeah.
So look, if you go to dizzy.com, go to Google, and look at our reviews. Nobody says,
I have. They're amazing.
Yeah. You would think people went to Disney World. And nobody says, oh, the test made me sick. The test took too long. What do they say? It was amazing. They took such great care of me. Now, here's the other thing. You know what we spend on patient acquisition? Almost nothing. Because the patient acquisition comes from the relationships with referring physicians.
I think I need to, even though everybody has heard it loud and clear, I need to repeat it, because the average patient acquisition, if people are being real honest on the hearing side, is anywhere from $500 to $1,500 per patient, if they're being honest with themselves and they consider the whole patient journey. And what you just said is zero. And because I could imagine running a couple of balance ads, and I mean, given the numbers of people who are dizzy, and I think what's most important is the trust from the physicians. And is that how you mostly get people?
So most of what we do in helping our centers of specialty care licensees is understanding not how to just market to the public, but you are going to. So look, the average person, the average clinic that comes on board with us, maybe they've been in practice 2 years, maybe they've been in practice 20 years. They have an amazing database. But how many? So let's say you've got a long, big database, 8,000 names. Most of those are tested, not sold. So how many times are you going to poke them with a letter, a postcard? And don't you think that they're getting those same pokes from Audibel, Miraculeur, Beltone, Costco? What are you doing? You're doing the same thing. You've only got a certain pond with so many fish in it, and you've got 30 fishermen trying to pull out that little bit of fish.
Yeah.
What you do is we have all this marketing information. Now you market to your database, not about, oh, come in for your annual checkup. What do you think? People are stupid? They know you're trying to sell them a hearing aid.
Or come and get it's the fall. Come and get your free turkey.
Right. They don't want it. They don't need it. They're only 98. They're not ready. They're not old enough to get hearing aids. So why are you stop it? Stop it. Einstein, right? Doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different outcome. Now, this fall, don't. If you or someone you love has recently had a fall or afraid of falling, please come in. We're now part of the largest network of balance specialists in the United States. We've got content-driven promotions, social media, physician liaison programs, right? You don't go to a physician and just go to ENTs and neurologists. You're going to go to GPs, gerontologists, endocrinologists, rheumatologists, orthopods, right? You're going to go to an endocrinologist, and you're going to talk about the problems of the diabetic patient. Balance requires ears, eyes, and touch. Guess what? Diabetes affects all three. So when a diabetic falls, let's look at the downward spiral or the cascade effect. Number one, wound care. Number two, cognitive decline. We just published an article using the Cognitive U Thrive screener. Guess what we found? We ran every test on these patients, dynamic posturography, rotary chair, everything. Individuals that had pristine vestibular function, if they showed cognitive decline on the Thrive screening, they were 14 times more likely to have abnormal balance on dynamic posturography. Even with normal rotary chair, normal VNG, normal OVEMP and CVEMP, but not on posturography. And that is the indicator of fall risk. So what that means is, even if, let's say you're an audiologist and you know what, it's not for me, but I want to talk to my patients about fall risk. You know what? Run a Cognitive U Thrive with them.
Yep.
Because now you can talk about cognitive decline, untreated sensorineural hearing loss, the difference between hearing and listening. But now you've got another added aspect to say, people that are in this area have 14 times the likelihood of a fall. We really need to talk to you and your primary care doctor about how to keep you safe, keep you from falling, letting
keep you in your home,
place,
keep you independent, all the things that they're, right? I mean, actively aging. We want you to live your best. I mean, that's just such, I know I've seen it, but it hits me every time. That's such important data. I mean, I think we're going on about a year or two now where we have this whole new form, basically when a patient leaves our office, they don't get an audiogram. They're getting a form that goes through their cognitive view results, goes through we stage hearing loss now. So we don't talk in the antiquated terms like mild, medium, and hot salsa, right? We don't do any of that nonsense. And we actually have an entire section devoted to fall risk, cognitive decline risk. And one of the things I know I have to work on is updating based on that new information. That 14x number is just, it's life-changing.
Yeah. And you can even do, with what's called the Gans Sensory Organization test, right? It's a calibrated, standardized foam. It's based on the modified clinical test of sensory integration and balance. The whole thing, it's under $300, right? We have a special form. It's been standardized between the ages of 3 and 79. You can do a fall risk screening. So if you're an audiologist that says, look, I'm not doing all this other stuff, I don't care how much money I can make, but I do want to address at least fall risk. Do a Cognitive U Thrive and do the Gans Sensory Organization test, and you've now got standardized documentation that can at least have a conversation with somebody and differentiate yourself from Sam's Club.
Do you get a buck every time somebody says the name of the test?
Nope.
Sorry, go on.
So you can do what I would tell audiologists is do something. And you say, well, yeah, but is there a CPT code? How do I get paid for it? I mean, you're not a business person. I'm sorry.
Right.
If you
at $300, if the investment's $300, you really shouldn't be thinking about.
You really shouldn't even be in business. You should go to work for the post office. I'm sorry, because if you don't understand your tested but not sold clients, what if your presentation? Because what's the national average? National average is only 40 to 50%, I believe, sold versus tested. That means half of the people that you're spending time with walk out with nothing.
So Richard, I don't mean to correct you, but the last data I saw was closer to 35 to 40%. Meaning
This is
100
a big
people
one,
walking.
Esther.
Yeah, 100 people walk into a clinic saying, I have tinnitus, I have hearing loss, I'm struggling. Like, they picked up the phone and they called, they walked in on their own volition, and 60 of them walk out saying, whatever you just offered me ain't worth jack. Well, and that goes back to the fact that, right,
or they're not,
audiologists suck at selling.
But there's another thing. Buyers are liars. They might have already had the test at Costco. They might have already had the test at Miracle Ear. And the wife says, we got this thing in the mail. When you go in, don't say anything. Just see what they say. You don't think people are doing that? Come on.
But they are doing it. And I don't blame the patients. I don't blame the OTC companies. I don't blame anybody but us, right? And right, whether you like it or not, Richard, you've got the letter, so you're in it with us, that this is all our fault. If we focused on doing the right thing, forget the business, forget the sales, do the right thing, follow through with all best practices, invest $300 in the Ganz balance test so you can actually give the patients what they need, which is a trusted medical authority. They need a strong recommendation for what they need to do next. What they don't need is to be sold something, right? And there's all this hubbub, and perhaps this is timely, right? Oh, Bose over the counter went out of business, win for the audiologist. No, it's a win for the patient. The patient is begging for a trusted authority. They're begging for somebody to give them the education to fill their health literacy cup with information so that they know what's best for them. And of course, Bose isn't going to offer that. But unfortunately, we're only offering it to 20% of the people that are living with hearing loss. We got a big mountain ahead of us.
And see, when you can change your language, you need to become bilingual. And that bilingual, the language, is medical jargon.
Yeah.
You need to create and speak the same language as physicians. You want to be able to tell a primary care physician that we did a balance of a screening. We did a full assessment with Mrs. Plotnick. She is a diabetic. She reports a neuropathy on the anterior 2/3 of her feet. And we actually are seeing that on this screening. As you could see, she falls on conditions 5 and 6, even with eyes open, vision enabled. The data, and by the way, doctor, I've included a recent reprint of a journal article that looks at full risk in diabetics. We've encouraged her to return to you, and we would be happy, if you wish, to do a little bit deeper dive with some strategies. I mean, you've changed the trajectory. Look, I appreciate, I was in the vanguard of getting you the AUD. That was me and a whole bunch of other people that got you the AUD, right? But we failed you because you got the AUD, right? I mean, I was teaching the first AUD classes in 1998. We got you the AUD, but what came along with it? No real improvement in your education, no real expansion in your curriculum, and an absolutely insane amount of student debt. I'm sorry. I really am. This AUD thing has not gone the way we had planned it.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, so we, like you said, we changed. You changed there was some changes to the curriculum, but what never really changed, I believe, was the mindset of the people teaching some of the regular classes. And then most importantly, were the clinical externship sites. And what I mean by that is Yeah, all the students went and they learned from textbooks, and maybe they got a new class on tinnitus and a new class on balance, all great things. Because I remember I learned balance for about 4 hours. That was about the extent we did it during the master's program. I then went and did advanced studying in it. But the clinic setting, the clinical supervisors, the in-placements, the outplacements, their language didn't change. And it completely broke down the system. So then they went and got their jobs and they followed what their supervisors told them to do, dropped the textbooks, and now we're just still peddling hearing aids and still using the same language we have for the last 50 years.
And Keith, we get every year. So we place fourth year students with our CSCs all around the country. Because here at AIB, we actually only take 4 or 5 in-house ourselves, then the others are dispersed and trained. And I've been hearing this for years, the student debt, the burden, most students will now tell you they stop buying textbooks. They can't afford the textbooks. And that's why if you want to learn more about balance for free, go to dizzy.com. Go to dizzy.com, go to research and publications. I have dozens and dozens of our research papers, journal articles, even my textbook chapters on there completely free. If you go to the Dr. Gans blog, you can watch dozens of video case studies in little vignettes with references on children and adults. All open access, all free. That's a great place to learn to see if this topic and subspecialty interests you.
Yeah, that's great. What a great resource, not only for students, but for the people who are watching, who are listening and thinking, you know what? I remember balance. I remember being excited about balance. I remember those patient interactions, but I dropped it a long time ago. It didn't seem to fit with my business model. But I think that now's a great time with the shift, right? I've been saying it. We're at this inflection point in hearing healthcare. We have to go up because down's not an option. Oh, here we go.
Yeah,
here's that. Yep, here's the study.
Here's the study we just
came out. March, that's right, St. Patrick's Day. I knew it was recently.
Yeah. So this is a study, and again, this is using dynamic posturography. So the next study we're going to do is going to use the Ganz SOT to see if we can, without $100,000 posturography system, will our little simplified balance screening correlate with the cognitive decline as well.
That's great. I look forward to that too. I'm going to actually, what I want to do is I'm going to talk about this because, we've got a little boot camp coming up soon. And one of the topics that we're talking about is going to be, cognitive assessment, one of the big things we're going to be talking about. So what I'd like to transition to is the boot camp that you and I have talked about, the sort of the dream team coming together, if you will, to help practices really understand how to incorporate neurodiagnostic audiology on the hearing side, on the balance side, and really putting forth best practices with every patient and being able to generate massive amounts of revenue in doing so. Well,
we're excited to partner with you on this. I don't know if you can you see that picture?
Yeah, great picture.
So we've at AIB, we have an amazing facility. We have over 12,000 square feet. So this was a workshop. It's going on right now, in fact. We have 40 attendees from 20 states and 4 different countries. So we're going to have breakout sessions, hands-on, and Keith and I are partnering. This is a joint operation to blend the neuroscience and neurodiagnostics of cognition, hearing, tinnitus, and balance. And this is going to be the first week in December. So if you live up north, it's going to be here in Tampa Bay. We're about 5 minutes away from America's most beautiful beaches. We're also about an hour and a half from Disney World. So it's an amazing venue. We'll have a combination of didactic, but also lots of stations where you can break out with our team and actually play and practice hands-on with all these new technologies.
Yeah, it's going to be a fabulous event. Look, and you were talking about it. The three pillars of hearing healthcare are cognition, balance, and hearing. And along with the hearing comes the tinnitus. So this is what this 2-day workshop, boot camp, neurodiagnostic, everything you need to know to really run the best practice, right? If you want to incorporate neuroscience, neurodiagnostic audiology to provide amazing, remarkable patient care, this is going to be probably one of the best events in this year and really set you on the course to 2023, 24, 25, really help shape the future of audiology, not only for the field, but also for your practice.
And one of the benefits of partnering with Keith's organization is, look, a lot of people, if you're not just focused on balance, you're not going to come to AIB.
Right.
Likewise, if you go to Keith, you want to hear about the neuroscience of hearing and tinnitus and cognition. So this is like a golden corral of neuroscience. So you are going to have a smorgasbord. So you will be able to have a sampler platter of everything. And
I love this. I love the sampler platters.
Yeah,
I love those.
So you're
a little bit of everything.
You're going to get surf and turf. You're going to get everything. You're going to get the sushi, sashimi, the rolls, the tempura. You're getting everything.
Well, I think it's really, when I think about this event, right? And I'm sure you do too, because you do a lot of events. Who is this for, right? This, for me, if you are on the hearing side and you want to increase patient engagement, if you want to increase your treatment rate, if you want, each one of your providers to be $1 million a year provider, you need to work with Dr. Darrow, with Jared Brader, with our network. And if you're interested in balance, if you're forward thinking and you believe you've got 100, 200 square feet that you can devote and that this is the right thing to do in your practice, then come and learn more about the balance side. And now, if you're into the balance side and you're already set up and you want to learn more, yes, of course, come and hear from Dr. Ganz. But what you're also going to hear from me is, look, the vast majority of your patients that are over 60, even if they come to you for balance, chances are they're going to have some damage to their auditory system. There may be tinnitus, and we can help you, right? Because if the average treatment rate in our field is 40%, with our clients, we're up at 70 to 80%. So we can help you convert more of those balanced patients on the hearing side. So it's a great synergy. Surf and turf. I'm going to run with that one, Richard. That was perfect.
And you don't have to do everything. We have a strategy called crawl, walk, run.
Yeah. And
we've had people that the only investment had been a $300 Gans SOT balance screener and a ISIN video goggle for maybe $4,000 or $5,000. That was the investment. That's it. 6 months later, a year later, 3 years later, you go, you know what? I can't believe the traction I'm getting with just these little things. I've got to go further now. So you have to understand, nobody is going to force feed you to be an AIB center specialty care. If all you want to do is have people stand on a piece of standardized foam, we love it, because you're still going to help tons of people.
Yeah, of course. So look, I look forward to this event. I'm super excited about Tampa. I know my family's super excited. So we'll probably stay an extra week or so, get to the beach, get to Disney, and really, it's going to be a fabulous opportunity to say, 2022 has hopefully been a great year for all of you, but how do we really set their trajectory for 2023 and beyond? Because hearing healthcare, all realms, cognition, balance, and hearing provide such tremendous value to the 50 plus million people who are living with balance issues, hearing issues, the 80 million that are, diabetic and pre-diabetic. So we've got our work cut out for us, but it's going to be a great event.
The other thing I think that if you follow Keith and I, our main interest is your brain, your brains, and your hands. So you're not going to, if you go to a talk by an equipment manufacturer, you know why you're there, to buy equipment. If you go to a hearing aid sponsored event, you know why you're there. You're going to hear a one-sided, our hearing aids, you can walk on water with these. That's not what you're going to get with Keith and I. We are in love with your brains, right? And we want to empower you to practice to the highest and best level of your scope of practice and your license. And that's with your brain and with your hands, not necessarily with a product.
Yeah. I'm going to leave it right there because I don't think this episode could have ended any better. Dr. Ganz, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your 40 plus years of service. I don't see you stopping anytime soon. Can't wait to come down there. And for all you who are watching who want more details on the event, stay tuned. They'll be in the links below. We're right in the process of getting the website registration, everything up and running. And I can't wait to see you down in Tampa that first weekend in December. Dr. Ganz, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Keith. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.